Mike Porter's career has been so long that it carries the DNA of PSIA with him. He has been the common denominator since the 1970s. He's been the keeper of the keys on communicating and mentoring countless instructors from around the world. And it's one thing to teach skiing, right? The ski teachers are the face of our sports. But how do you communicate it? How do you come up with the strategies and the tactics for all-terrain skiing? How do you keep up with the technique, with changing equipment? Mike Porter has been there. Instructors need to package up where we go and why, and the goal is to grow the sport. In 2007, Interski is coming back to America, and it's going to be in Vail, showcasing the best of the best from around the world. And it hasn't been held in this country since 1968, when it was in Aspen. And in that 60-year span, Mike Porter and all of you, included with that PSIA, have helped package and shape and change and move the model from the European style and flair into practical skills, drills, and techniques that have been communicated seamlessly from coast to coast, east to west, north to south. So when our consumers go to those ski schools and ski and ride schools, they get the same information over and over again. And that has created our sport, it's built the resorts, and it's brought you all here tonight. Watch this, and you'll see what I mean.
In a career spanning over half a century, Mike Porter left an indelible mark as one of the world's most influential ski educators. As a leader, he brought global recognition to the PSIA AASI through the International Congress of Ski Instructors, commonly known as Interski, and he was one of the founders of the American teaching system. Porter grew up in Berkeley, California. No one in his family skied until Mom discovered the sport at Badger Pass, quickly making it a family activity which young Mike loved. As a teen, he worked for a Berkeley ski shop and started instructing at Homewood in Lake Tahoe, working his way up to teaching at Alpine Meadows. It was a time when ski schools were fiercely competitive, each with a different learning method. Porter looked for common ways to bring those differing techniques together to universalize teaching. After being named to his first Interski team in 1975, he lobbied PSIA to make it a standing program that could carry on its mission annually, not just every 4 years at Interski. He went on to serve 4 terms as its head coach.
We're seeing a lot of young people really interested in the sport, and really our presentation is trying to capture the mountain environment as a recreational activity for the whole family, and hopefully something that will last a lifetime.
In his career, Porter taught skiing around the world, from Austria's St. Anton to Mount Buller in Australia. He served in leadership roles for decades at the Vail Beaver Creek Ski School and as program director at Ski Club Vail. Working closely with the U.S. ski team, his observations of ski racers in action helped to showcase efficient skiing, which he conveyed to the instructional world. Amidst all the technical work he pioneered to bring consistency to snow sports education, the root of his success was his own personal charisma and selfless devotion to the growth of snow sports. Most of all, he brought out the best in those around him.
Our job, number one, is to share our passion, getting people excited. It could be with words, without words, but they just see something there that you're there for me.
In recognition of his more than half a century of dedication to snow sports education, Mike Porter is inducted into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame.
Mike Porter, having been elected by representation of the 11.6 million skiers and snowboarders in America from his teaching, we hereby bestow upon you, here at Black Rock Mountain Resort in Park City, Utah, our country's highest snow sport award, the Medal of Honor. And confer upon you, from this day forward, March 23rd, 2024, induction into the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Hall of Fame, where your accomplishments will forever be remembered.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Yeah, it is.
Thanks, everyone. It's more than humbling to be up here. I mean, to be associated with all the people in the Hall of Fame and the people being honored tonight. Because most people can say I'm an athlete, I did something, I accomplished some feat, and really everything I did was collaboration. I mean, I was part of people. So my really thanks goes out to all the ski coaches and ski instructors and trainers across the country that I've had the pleasure to work with, be part of, be groups of, because all those made what I get. So for me, this medal is for me, but mostly is for our whole sport, all the teachers, trainers, because they're the ones that make the difference, not me. I'm part of it. You know, it was interesting. I'm very fortunate my mother had a good instructor, because there's nobody in our family that skied. And I can tell you, my parents skied till they were in their 90s, and they still couldn't make a decent turn. I mean, it was the point when they were skiing with my kids here, we made sure they were in front. They'd always want to come by. No, thank you. Stay there. But I was really very fortunate. I caught the bug of skiing, and I enjoyed it. And when I went to university, I worked in the ski shop, and I was skiing one day, and this instructor at Homewood came by, and he said, he was the ski school director, and he said, "Are you interested in teaching skiing?" And I said, "What's it entail?" And he said, "You get free tickets." I said, "I'm in." Going to college, I mean, I had no idea what it was. So I taught through college, and then I was able to pass my exams in that, and I transferred to Alpine Meadows, and I was fortunate to have this guy called Jorg, Alpine Meadows. We've got a few of those people here, yep. That was my home base. There's an instructor there named Jorg Duchke, a big German grumpy guy. There's out there, and no matter what I did, he always informed me that it wasn't quite what it should be. But he had a little glint in his eye that said, you know, maybe it might be there. And that was the guy that pushed me, and when I graduated from school, I was lucky enough to get a job down in Australia. They said, "You want to go down and teach skiing?" So I said, "Yeah, that's pretty cool. You know, get out of the country." Other people, it was the time of the Vietnam War, so it wasn't a bad trip in there. And then when I was down there, I was lucky enough to be offered a job in St. Anton, Austria, which is really the home of ski instructors. So I said, I should try that, give it a try. So I went back and forth a couple years. And then when I came back to the U.S., I said, you know, this ski teaching, there's something in it, because it was pretty rewarding when you took people out and they had a good day. And they said, God, that was fun. And when I looked at all the other jobs I had, most people were complaining, and here people were thanking you. And I said, oh, this could be pretty good. So then I said, well, if I'm going to do it, I want to be the best. When I came back to the U.S., there was the selection process for the 75 PSIA interski team. So I said, geez, I should give that a shot. You know, why not? And I was fortunate enough to make it. And that was probably the biggest breakthrough of my life, because on those teams, I was able to meet Jens Husted, Chris Ryman, Jerry Warren, P.J. Jones, Ellen Post-Foster, Carol Levine, Dee Byrne, Tim Petrick, Sean Smith, Dave Merriam, names you see in the industry now, running big places. But that was our collective group, And everybody there really was inquisitive. They were challenging. We were pushing each other, finding where the limits were. It was unbelievably fascinating because we kept saying, what are the barriers out there? Because literally at that time in skiing, ski schools were arguing among each other. Squaw Valley, French ski school, better teaching than Heavenly Valley's Austrian ski school. But what about Mammoth? They were teaching modified Arlberg, whatever that was. You know, and then you had the Stein Eriksen ski school versus the Fred Island ski school. Everything was about technique in there. And all of a sudden I got associated with this group and we were just brainstorming everything. And at the same time, then I started coaching at Ski Club Vail. And the beauty of ski coaching is we had a broad range of athletes, you know, from 6 years old, then some of them were 21 years old. And you had them every day, and most of them multiple seasons. So you could actually test stuff. What motivated them? What made changes? How did you get them inspired? What was the connective tissue? You know, so this, where when you take a lesson, you teach them, but you're never sure what the next outcomes be. Every time, now and then, maybe you get a student for 4 or 5 days, but you don't know what the long-term event was. So that was a perfect feeding zone. And in that group, I was really fortunate because we had a bunch of great coaches. We had Paul Gamond, who was right in front of us. We had Jim Tracy, who was also coached on the ski team. Bruce Lingelbach, who went on to be the U.S. ski team coach. Aldo and Sarah Radamus, who were kind of joint coaches, I think, in there. Guy's laughing. He knows what I mean. Aldo was the coach, but Sarah ran the coach. And their son, River Radamus, is doing very well. That's coached by Mom, too. I better not say that. Disregard that one. But, I mean, the fun part there was that meshed so well with ski instructor because we were trying to figure out what it was. Because there was one common thing. We all loved the passion of the sport. And really, the key points that I'd like to bring at this were what really drove me, that I learned early on, was when I went to Australia and taught. I never realized how many days it rained out there. And in the U.S., if it was a pouring rainy day, how many people came to ski school? Nobody. No, so at my first day out there, it's a rainy day. I said, okay, we get to sleep in. No. You know, we go out there, nobody's going to show up. They came out of the woodwork, out of the gum trees, out of the fog. They kept coming. You know, there's nobody there at 10 minutes to 10. All of a sudden, 5 minutes to 10, there are 3 people. 2 minutes to 10, there's 100. Oh, my God. I'm not dressed for this. But all of a sudden, you found out they were there for the week. There was the vacation. And the weather's bad in Australia. Learn to live with it. So all of a sudden, I found that if I was teaching classes and tell them how well they needed to transfer the weight to the outside ski, or if they needed a little bit more angulation, that wasn't going very far. But all of a sudden, we could have fun. We created experience. Let's go over here. Let's try this. How about over there? We had all this fun. And I learned in the evening, because it was a small mountain, Mount Buller, that people would tell their war stories. How many know the war stories? At the end of the day, anybody have war stories today? Skiing some of that slick stuff. Some missiles flying by you. I mean, that's what we talk about. Very rarely say, oh boy, I have a beautiful stem Christie. Yeah. You know, who cares? I mean, did you get down left or right? You know, so pretty soon I started figuring that out. And then when in St. Anton, when I was teaching, I realized they were there for the week too. And that one of our big motivations was, hey, if we work on this, we can ski over to this hut and have morning coffee. And if we do a little bit more work, we probably go to that town and have lunch, you know. And then also pretty early in this, I realized that if it wasn't the best visibility or if the route may be a little hard, that I'd recommend a little schnapps with coffee in the morning. And that seemed to be a better effect than my coaching on getting them through the tough sections. You know, on the odd day, it might have been a 2-schnapp lunch. But all of a sudden, they'd come back, and the next morning, we're telling stories. What did we do that day? How did it go on? So it became very apparent to me that teaching skiing wasn't teaching skiing. You were creating experiences. You were creating stories that they were going to tell. And in that process, they had breakthroughs. I never thought I could do that. Oh, I couldn't go here. I mean, some of these are life-changing. They said, I gained confidence I'd never done before. And you're going, you got to be kidding me. What did we do? But, I mean, just people going through that and how to work together, how to manage time. I mean, that was so much rewarding, but it wasn't the technique. The whole thing was just enough technique to support it. So when we worked as a team and grouped together, our interski teams, we have a lot of stories. We have more stories than what we taught about. But that was the part of it, you know. And then the other part that I really learned was from my mother was, I always said to myself, what if my mother had a bad instructor? I wouldn't have been there. But the point, the takeaway I had there is you never miss an opportunity. When you're with somebody, be engaging, work with them, figure out what's going to motivate them. Try to make that connection, because you never know what that instant. You may create a lifelong skier, or you may turn people away. But just, you never know when that opportunity is. So my point was, I never give up on a point. Never take anything for granted. Be prepared, be ready to go, be on top of it. And then it's not what I have to say, it's the connection I make to figure out what you need. So that's what I leave you with. And this really goes out to all the snow sports instructors out there who are making the changes, that are creating those lifelong skiers. And I hope we see more of them in the Hall of Fame here, because there's tons more qualified than I am. So thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.